I mean, how much of your work is with people who need help with mental health?
Well, it's a question of definition, I suppose, and I'd like mental health to be seen as something that is very relevant to all of us. So just like physical fitness, it's something that we all deal with on a day-to-day basis. So in that sense, everyone that I see. And it's to a matter of degree, so people that are very, very normally functioning, very happy individuals that might be at an 8 or a 9 out of 10 on the general happiness scale might still have a very specific phobia that they want to overcome, or a fear that's holding them back in some significant way in their lives. And on the other hand, I do see people who've been, pretty close to the bottom of the end of that scale and who are gradually, slowly but surely working their way back up. So depending on how you define it, but however you define it, I'd say it's very helpful for anyone at any stage of that scale. And within that context, I think the scale, if it goes from 1 to 10, that might be because we only see the scale going to 10 at the moment, but actually the potential of human achievement is far greater than any of us have probably already seen. So that's an exciting direction to take the practice as well.
Definitely. Do you think in this country as a whole, aside from just hypnotherapy and treatments like hypnotherapy, do you think we're covered enough in terms of services that are available for people to help with mental health issues?
Well, no. I certainly hear a lot of stories of mental health provision not meeting requirements, both from a customer point of view, but also through lots of people I know that work in the mental health services and in the health system as a whole. So I do think demand is currently way outstripping supply in some way, and we need a revolution. I think nothing short of a revolution to address that situation. And I think we're on that route. And I think the wider awareness and openness about mental health and seeing it as something that we all do is a start of that. But I think we've got a long way to go.
Yeah, I think you're absolutely right. And I think it's something we've covered a lot on this show, but there still, for some reason, seems to be some sort of a stigma around mental health, and it just doesn't seem to be fully going. And it does feel like, I know you mentioned before we started recording that information and education is so important at the moment for people.
Yes, and I think it's rooted in a long history. Hypnosis has been around for a long time, and back in the 1800s, there were surgeons who were using it because we didn't have anaesthetic, so it was used very effectively for pain relief. But somehow that wasn't necessarily welcomed and broadcast by other sectors of the system, and that knowledge has been slow to emerge. And maybe in this day and age, it's even been suppressed to a certain degree, partly because we've got drugs that can do the job. But I think we're at risk of forgetting some of those things. But I do see a lot of positive signs of those things beginning to re-emerge. But I think it's quite well established and actually quite ancient wisdom. So I'm very optimistic about these things coming back to the fore.
Do you think hypnotherapy will become a more frequent or a more common treatment for mental health issues moving forward?
Yes, absolutely, I do. The National Institute of Clinical Excellence already has certain recommendations. For example, irritable bowel syndrome, hypnotherapy is one of the first recommendations for treating that. And I think that trend will continue. And I also think that a move towards what you might call self-health, just people understanding and taking more responsibility and control for their own mental health, will continue. And that's a trend that's already going. And I think the awareness and understanding of those things is building. So I also wonder, it'd be great. It might take a long time, but in 10 years I wouldn't be surprised, and I wouldn't mind if hypnotherapists had done themselves out of a job. And if everyone was able to, because the skills that we use are accessible to everyone, if everyone was able to do it themselves, then we'd all be a lot happier, more effective, and we could spend our time worrying about wider, more aspirational goals. That would be a very good place to get to. Yeah. Whether it takes 10, 20, 30 years, I'm not sure, but we'll get there.